Better known by his pen name George Orwell, Eric Arthur Blair was an English writer and political essayist whose work left an indelible mark on literature and political thought. Born on June 25, 1903, in British India, he passed away on January 21, 1950 in London. His writing is characterized by a passionate clarity, a sharp awareness of social injustices, and a fierce opposition to totalitarianism, especially Stalinism, which he brilliantly satirized in his novella Animal Farm 1945. Orwell is most famous for the dystopian novel 1984, 1949, and the aforementioned Animal Farm. These two works achieved unprecedented commercial success, outselling any other author of the 20th century. Beyond fiction, he was a prolific author of reviews, articles, and essays with Homage to Catalonia, 1938, an acclaimed account of his time in the Spanish Civil War standing out. To this day, Orwell's influence on culture and politics remains alive and relevant.
Now, to expose your true feelings to an adult seems to be instinctive from the age of 7 or 8 onwards.
Big Brother is watching you. Big Brother is watching you.
In the face of pain, there are no heroes.
The book fascinated him, or more exactly, it reassured him. In a sense, it told him nothing that was new, but that was part of the attraction. It said what he would have said if it had been possible for him to set his scattered thoughts in order.
The word fascism has now no meaning except in so far as it signifies something not desirable.
It is fatal to look hungry. It makes people want to kick you.
We may find in the long run that tinned food is a deadlier weapon than the machine gun.
My best fishing memory is about some fish that I never caught.
The choice for mankind lies between freedom and happiness, and for the great bulk of mankind, happiness is better.
Take away freedom of speech, and the creative faculties dry up.
Threats to freedom of speech, writing and action, though often trivial in isolation, are cumulative in their effect, and, unless checked, lead to a general disrespect for the rights of the citizen.
Football, a game in which everyone gets hurt, and every nation has its own style of play, which seems unfair to foreigners.
In this game that we're playing, we can't win. Some kinds of failure are better than other kinds, that's all.
Winston was gelatinous with fatigue.
Most people get a fair amount of fun out of their lives, but on balance life is suffering, and only the very young or the very foolish imagine otherwise.
At any given moment, there is an orthodoxy, a body of ideas which it is assumed that all right, thinking people will accept without question.
At any given moment, there is an orthodoxy, a body of ideas which it is assumed that all right, thinking people will accept without question.
It was given out that the animals there practiced cannibalism, tortured one another with red-hot horseshoes, and had their females in common. This was what came of rebelling against the laws of nature, Frederick and Pilkington said.
4 legs good, 2 legs bad. This, he said, contained the essential principle of animalism.
The 4 great motives for writing prose are sheer egoism, aesthetic enthusiasm, historical impulse, and political purpose.
People need guidance and information to be free.
Now he had recognized himself as a dead man. It became important to stay alive as long as possible.
If I had to make a list of 6 books which were to be preserved when all others were destroyed, I would certainly put Gulliver's Travels among them.
If one harbors anywhere in one's mind a nationalistic loyalty or hatred, certain facts, though in a sense known to be true, are inadmissible.
If I had understood the situation a bit better, I should probably have joined the anarchists.
Every record has been destroyed or falsified, every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and street, building has been renamed, every date has been altered, and the process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right.
A Sahib has got to act like a Sahib. He has got to appear resolute, to know his own mind, and do definite things.
Serious sport has nothing to do with fair play. It is bound up with hatred, jealousy, boastfulness, disregard of all rules, and sadistic pleasure in witnessing violence. In other words, it is war minus the shooting.
To die hating them, that was freedom.
When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
Since pacifists have more freedom of action in countries where traces of democracy survive, pacifism can act more effectively against democracy than for it. Objectively, the pacifist is pro-Nazi.
If you have no money, men won't care for you, women won't love you. Well, that is, care for you or love you, the last little bit that matters.
You will have to get used to living without results and without hope. You will work for a while, you will be caught, you will confess, and then you will die. Those are the only results that you will ever see.
Suddenly his heart seemed to turn to ice, and his bowels to water.
After knowing him, I saw the force of the proverb, trust a snake before a Jew, and a Jew before a Greek, but don't trust an Armenian.
I understand how. I do not understand why.
Snobbishness, like hypocrisy, is a check upon behavior whose value from a social point of view has been underrated.
Never have ideas about children, and never have ideas for them.
Cannot imagine, comrades, that leadership is a pleasure. On the contrary, it is a deep and heavy responsibility. No one believes more firmly than Comrade Napoleon that all animals are equal.
Every generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the one that went before it, and wiser than the one that comes after it.
You are imagining that there is something called human nature which will be outraged by what we do and will turn against us. But we create human nature. Men are infinitely malleable.
All rulers in all ages have tried to impose a false view of the world upon their followers.
We are in a strange period of history in which a revolutionary has to be a patriot, and a patriot has to be a revolutionary.
No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth.
Reality is inside the skull.
Antisemitism, for instance, is simply not the doctrine of a grown-up person.
Power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing.
The more intelligent, the less sane.
Everyone believes in the atrocities of the enemy and disbelieves in those of his own side, without ever bothering to examine the evidence.
Reality exists in the human mind and nowhere else, not in the individual mind, which can make mistakes and in any case soon perishes, only in the mind of the party, which is collected and immortal.
No advance in wealth, no softening of manners, no reform or revolution has ever brought human equality a millimeter nearer.
Real power is achieved when the ruling class controls the material essentials of life, granting and withholding them from the masses as if they were privileges.
Preventive war is a crime not easily committed by a country that retains any traces of democracy.
All freedom is a freedom to say that 2 + 2 make 4.
And it is a great thing to die in your own bed, though it is better still to die in your boots.
A humanitarian is always a hypocrite.
Every joke is a tiny revolution.
Animal Farm is a warning to every reader. Beware the utopia. Beware the perfect solution and the easy slogan. Beware those who claim to know what is best for you. Beware bombast and dogma. Beware the death of doubt. Beware those who do not practice what they preach. Beware the chosen. Beware the one and only true path.
Political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable, and to give an appearance of solidity to pure win.
Where there is equality, there can be sanity.
If there is hope, it lies in the prose.
All propaganda is lies, even when one is telling the truth.
Good prose is like a window pane.
Free speech is my right to say what you don't want to hear.
The party is not concerned with perpetuating itself. Who wields power is not important, providing that the hierarchical structure always remains the same.
The war is not meant to be won, it is meant to be continuous.
No one is patriotic about taxes.
If it is possible to cut a word out, always cut it out.
All art is propaganda. On the other hand, not all propaganda is art.
An earthquake is such fun when it is over.
The party is not interested in the overt act. The thought is all we care about.
The point is that as soon as fear, hatred, jealousy, and power worship are involved, the sense of reality becomes unhinged.
The fact is that certain things cannot be celebrated in words, and tyranny is one of them. No one ever wrote a good book in praise of the Inquisition.
There, comrades, is the answer to all our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man.
The hospital is the antechamber to the tomb.
International football is the continuation of war by other means.
The fallacy is to believe that under a dictatorial government you can be free inside.
Free speech is unthinkable. All other kinds of freedom are permitted. You are free to be a drunkard, an idler, a coward, a backbiter, a fornicator, but you are not free to think for yourself.
The war is waged by each ruling group against its own subjects, and the object of the war is not to make or prevent conquests of territory, but to keep the structure of society intact.
Serious sport is war minus the shooting.
The past is whatever the records and the memories agree upon.
Don't let it happen, it's up to you.
To survive, it is often necessary to fight, and to fight you have to dirty yourself.
Let's face it, our lives are miserable, laborious, and short.
Truth is the new hate speech. During times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act.
Nothing holds it together except an idea, which is indestructible.
When I joined the militia, I had promised myself to kill one fascist. After all, if each of us killed one, they would soon be extinct.
Circus dogs jump when the trainer cracks the whip, but a really well-trained dog is the one that turns somersaults when there is no whip.
If you kept the small rules, you could break the big ones.
In certain kinds of writing, particularly in art, criticism, and literary criticism, it is normal to come across long passages which are almost completely lacking in meaning.
Sooner or later, a false belief bumps up against solid reality, usually on a battlefield.
Los majors libros son los quienes dicen lo que sabemos.
Early in life, I had noticed that no event is ever correctly reported in the newspaper.
In real life, it is always the anvil that breaks the hammer.
Avoid cliches like the plague.
Huge events like the Ukraine famine of 1933, involving the deaths of millions of people, have actually escaped the attention of the majority of English Russophiles.
We are living in a world in which nobody is free, in which hardly anybody is secure, in which it is almost impossible to be honest and to remain alive.
Rifles, muskets, bows, and hand grenades are inherently democratic weapons. A complex weapon makes the strong stronger, while a simple weapon, so long as there is no answer to it, gives claws to the weak.
One can love a child, perhaps, more deeply than one can love another adult, but it is rash to assume that the child feels any love in return.
They fear love because it creates a world they can't control.
If you loved someone, you loved him, and when you had nothing else to give, you still gave him love.
Perhaps a lunatic was simply a minority of one.
We control matter because we control the mind. Reality is inside the skull.
A man may take to drink because he feels himself to be a failure, but then fail all the more completely because he drinks.
Perhaps a man really dies when his brain stops, when he loses the power to take in a new idea.
Beauty is meaningless until it is shared.
If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear.
If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. Common people still vaguely subscribe to that doctrine and act on it. In our country, it is not the same in all countries. It was not so in Republican France, and it is not so in the USA today. He is the liberals who fear liberty and the intellectuals who want to do dirt on the intellect.
We shall meet in a place where there is no darkness.
And when memory failed and written records were falsified, when it happened, the claim of the party to have improved the conditions so that human life had got to be accepted, because there did not exist, and never again could exist, any standard against which it could be tested.
The empirical method of thought on which all the scientific achievements of the past were founded is opposed to the most fundamental principles of thought. Even technological progress only happens when its products can in some way be used for the diminution of human liberty.
Processions, meetings, military parades, lectures, waxwork displays, film shows, telescreen programs all had to be organized. Stands had to be erected, effigies built, slogans coined, songs written, rumors circulated, photographs faked.
Lack of money means discomfort, means squalid worries, means shortage of tobacco, means ever-present consciousness of failure. Above all, it means loneliness.
Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster.
The main motive for non-attachment is a desire to escape from the pain of living, and above all from love, which, sexual or non-sexual, is hard work.
He had moved from thought to words, and now from words to actions.
The prime necessities for success in life are money, athleticism, tailor-made clothes, and a charming smile.
What is needed is the right to print what one believes to be true, without having to fear bullying or blackmail from any side.
The masses never revolt of their own accord, and they never revolt merely because they are oppressed. Indeed, so long as they are not permitted to standards of comparison, they never even become aware that they are oppressed.
I have no particular love for the idealized worker as he appears in the bourgeois communist's mind, but when I see an actual flesh and blood worker in conflict with his natural enemy, the policeman, I do not have to ask myself which side I am on.
There is no swifter route to the corruption of thought than through the corruption of language.
Power is not a means, it is an end.
Progress is not an illusion, it happens, but it is slow and invariably disappointing.
Thought crime was not a thing that could be concealed forever. You might dodge successfully for a while, even for years, but sooner or later they were bound to get you.
Confession is not betrayal. What you say or do doesn't matter. Only feelings matter. If they could make me stop loving you, that would be the real betrayal.
It was not by making yourself heard, but by staying sane that you carry on the human heritage.
Is it not crystal clear, then, comrades, that all the evils of this life of ours spring from the tyranny of human beings? Only get rid of man, and the produce of our labor would be our own.
Obedience is not enough, unless he is suffering. How can you be sure that he is obeying your will and not his own? Power is in inflicting pain and humiliation. Power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing.
Thought crime does not entail death. Thought crime is death.
One does not establish a dictatorship in order to safeguard a revolution. One makes a revolution in order to establish a dictatorship.
There is no test of literary merit except survival, which is itself an index to majority opinion.
It could not have been 10 seconds, and yet it seemed a long time that their hands were clasped together. He had time to learn every detail of her hand.
Fascism has nothing to do with capitalism. Fascism is just a kind of meaningless wickedness, an aberration, mass sadism, the sort of thing that would happen if you suddenly let loose an asylum full of homicidal maniacs.
Patriotism has nothing to do with conservatism. It is actually the opposite of conservatism, since it is a devotion to something that is always changing and yet is felt to be mystically the same.
Mankind is not likely to salvage civilization unless he can evolve a system of good and evil which is independent of heaven and hell.
We are not like that. We know that no one ever seizes power with the intention of relinquishing it. Power is not a means, it is an end. One does not establish a dictatorship in order to safeguard a revolution. One makes the revolution in order to establish the dictatorship. The object of persecution is persecution. The object of terrorism is terrorism. The object of oppression is oppression. The object of torture is torture. The object of murder is murder. The object of power is power. Now do you begin to understand me?
You would not make the act of submission which is the price of sanity.
It does not matter whether the war is actually happening, and since no decisive victory is possible, it does not matter whether the war is going well or badly. All that is needed is that the state of war should exist.
We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them.
At any given moment, there is a sort of all-pervading orthodoxy, a general tacit agreement not to discuss large and uncomfortable facts.
4 legs good, 2 legs better. 4 legs good, 2 legs better. 4 legs good, 2 legs better.